Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion today. My name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and my whole role and purpose with these Minecraft episodes is to talk about all the different ways to learn to control your thinking. It's about becoming the boss of your brain. Thoughts come first, followed by feelings. Can't have feelings without thoughts, and then leading to actions or behaviors. So in the big picture, the Minecraft podcast is about teaching people how to try to train the brain, how to rewire to live your very, very best life. So today I kind of want to talk about what does it mean? Well-being. There's a lot of talk on well-being and wellness. Personally, wellness has me more thinking of geriatric aerobics with adorable older women in bathing caps, floating around and chatting and having a grand old time, being well with relationships, because we're going to talk about that. What does it mean to be well, though? Because well-being, wellness, it's about being well. What does it mean to be well? Well, and Shawn Achor talks about this a lot in his book, The Happiness Advantage, and also in his videos. But some people think the absence of disease is not health. And I think some people think that. Like, if you don't have something huge going on, that you're healthy or that you're well. Well, not necessarily, no. Because well-being, like anything else in this life, takes a lot of effort. It takes awareness first and then a lot of effort. So Marty Seligman, one of my faves, I was on the International Positive Education Steering Committee with him years ago, and actually got to sit next to him. My colleagues at work, my former dean, they didn't tell me. It was like a big surprise, and they had put my seat right next to him. So it was like you walk in, it was like a wedding with all the little name tags. I'm like, where's mine? Well, I hope they put me up front with my ADHD called Fast Mind Club. Where? I hope I'm in the front, because I will not be able to pay attention to anything. Found my little ticket, went up, and they had put me right next to him. They were watching me the whole time. So I turned around going, oh my God, it's him. So Marty Seligman, little story there. Marty Seligman is considered by most to be the father of positive psychology. And one of the many things I love about him, he's just extremely warm. He's such a warm person and so honest and so emotional. As he talks about his own struggle with depression, which I think, as a father of positive psychology, is extremely cool. So Marty would talk about sort of 5 components to well-being, and I think of them as like little buckets. We've talked before about how to keep your bucket full. This is similar, but I picture them as each of the 5 components are not necessarily always full, but as long as they're kind of most of the way full, because they're going to shift and change, because that's what life does, then you're in pretty good shape. So the very first one of the acronym PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, Marty came up with this, is positive emotion. In order to be well, we've got to experience positive emotion the high majority of the time. So emphasis on do your best. Those of you who watched the episodes, the word perfection, whatever, perfectionist, you're better off dropping the F-bomb than saying that word. It's horrible. And as Anne Schaaf would say, perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. And so we're not steering for that. We are aiming for, set the bar, picture like a limbo bar, like how low can you go, right? Picture it, and do your best. Like your best when you have the flu is not your best when you wake up, hit the ground running with a glass of OJ and a great night's sleep. It's just different, okay? So set the bar to your best before we can get into this conversation. Okay, so positive emotion, to feel it most of the time, the high majority of the time. And obviously with life happening, that's going to be different. But the people who are the most well, we experience a ton of positive emotion. And that means you got to be an active player in your life. Like, you got to be first string on the football field, or pick a different sport, whatever. But you're not sitting on the bench watching it. In order to experience a lot of positive emotion, you might have to trim the bushes, as they say. It's called neural pruning, when you get rid of a lot of not so good thoughts and old memories that are coming up to your mind, and also people. If you hang around people who don't bring any kind of personal growth to you, don't bring you joy, and long term, not like a day, a bad day. Think about the time you're spending with those people, because maybe that's not the best plan. So a lot of positive emotions. Surround yourself with a lot of positivity. And again, we're not saying that the people in our lives have to be perfect either. That's not what we're saying. We're saying basically positive, caring, loving, kind individuals who, of course, mess up like everybody does. However, they have your best interest in mind. Lots and lots of positive emotion. Next, in the PERMA acronym, is E for engagement. So it goes back to what I was saying, be on the first string of your life, because we walk around every day making decisions. And here's the thing, we can make them actively, which is what works best for us usually. Taking in the facts, everything from deciding where to go to lunch to a project at work to moving across the country or the vacation you've been saving for. Be an active player in your life, because the decisions get made one way or the other. The other alternative is to be a passive decision maker, and that just kind of lets the environment make the decisions for you, and they don't usually go as well for us. So we want to be engaged and active. Also, it means, or in addition to, or along with, to be present, to be mindful. And sometimes people get mindfulness confused with meditation, and we're not going to diss meditation, because it's like having a taste in food or movies. You might like one better than the other. They're sitting, one's standing, one's lying down, one's river, one mountains, one, mountain ones, whatever. Mindfulness isn't about any of that. There's no structure to it. You can create that, but that's not what it's about. And for those of us in the Fast Mind Club, practicing mindfulness is the bomb.com, as they say, because it's meditation on the go. It's only about being present. That's it. You can wash the dishes mindfully, garden mindfully, ski mindfully, hopefully, when you're in the trees. Have a conversation mindfully, but it's about being present in your life, because if you are not being present in your life, you're missing out on your life. And sometimes people will say, I don't have the time, I don't have time. Well, if you don't have 10 minutes to call your own in a day, you have no life. That's just the truth. And Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's like the guru of mindfulness, says something similar. If you're trying to add mindfulness to your to-do list, you're just not ready. It's about being, not doing. And we become human doings, actually, rather than human beings. At least in our society here in the good old US of A, which I love my country. However, we have been sort of conditioned to be gerbils on crack at this point. So slow that stuff down and be in your life. Okay, so that's engagement with you and with other people your whole life. So that's the P, that's the E. R is for relationships. I cannot say enough about how important relationships are. And it's very important here to know it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And so obviously the toxics don't help the cause. So they should be kind of like released like helium balloons. Bye-bye. Not saying people just give you a hard time here and there. I mean, like the ones who are really toxic, like drinking turpentine for breakfast, they just need to go. Just release them, go with God, bye. And then the relationships that we really want are the ones that are really healthy for us and really beneficial for us. It doesn't mean you don't have words with the people you love. Of course you do. But in the end, this is what the clincher is. This is like the big box to check where they're a keeper, okay? Is if you call them at 3 o'clock in the morning, even if you hadn't spoken to them in a month or 2 months or 6 months, even if you got pissed in that argument, if you called them at 3 o'clock in the morning and your heart was breaking for some reason, something horrible happened to you, a friend, or there's a break, whatever, even if they hadn't spoken to you, they would drop everything, all the petty stuff. Even if they just didn't, they would just drop it all to be with you. That the person you could count on no matter what. If you have one of those, you're rich. You have two of those, you're richer than a billionaire on the planet Earth. And you have three, I don't even have words for it, because we're richer than rich. And so that's what we're talking about with relationships. And we know for a fact the relationship piece out of the PERMA is the #1 ticket to longevity. You want to live a long and happy life? Put your energy, invest your life minutes into your relationships. There's nothing more important. Healthier, happier, we heal fast, everything with positive relationships. Okay, then PER, M stands for meaning. Human beings, we are wired for meaning, and without that meaning and purpose, because it goes along with meaning, it's a straight road to depression, to be honest with you. And Viktor Frankl, my favorite psychologist. I'm also a big fan of Abe Maslow. Viktor Frankl, though, if you know, he wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and Viktor was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he just he wrote he want his life's mission was to write the story so that it didn't happen again. And his book isn't so much focused on, I mean, it's in there, a lot of the things that happened. Obviously, he was at Auschwitz, and I think one more. He was at one more. Anyway, I don't know, but I don't remember which two, but he was at two different ones. And the meaning, how he was able to maintain his mindset through that whole thing, to be able to write the story to prevent it from happening, absolutely incredible mind control. And he stayed with that meaning, did all kinds of tips and tricks, had mental talks with his wife for the whole thing, even though she was at a different camp, just to keep him going. And so the meaning and purpose thing, and Victor came up with something called logotherapy, which is about helping people find their meaning and purpose. And he said you can have, you know, somebody addicted, a criminal, whatever, you know, and I'm not saying that with judgment, neither was he. He was saying it like in a very low place, feeling, you know, like they're in a low and broken place, and help them to find their meaning, going to be life-changing, like absolutely life-changing. Versus you got you got somebody else doing better over here. There's nothing more important than the life changer of meaning and purpose. Knowing what your authentic purpose on this planet is, what that one thing you were meant to do, and meaning whatever it is you're doing. Okay, and then PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, is accomplishment. And we're not talking about becoming an achievement junkie. We're talking about we all need to have some accomplishment. And it can be, you know, all the bling bling with awards and titles and making lots of money, but there can be a gamut of things. It can be being a stellar mother or a father or a sibling or best friend or a partner. It can be your accomplishment is volunteering. Your accomplishment is you started a little league team in your town, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. But we have to have some, you know, sort of accomplishment feeling, and then to raise it up to how that applies to something bigger than ourselves. And I know for me, I'm filled up over the top with teaching. You know, I teach Minecraft and also cognitive psychology at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. And I also have the well-being role, which it all feeds the same, or comes from the same hydrant, the same geyser, I guess that's the way to say it, because I'm an educator. And so when I do things for the well-being role, I'm doing tons of workshops for parents and groups for students, and it's all very heavily engaged with people. And the workshops are all about various things well-being related, and the whole reward in it is people feeling lighter and happier, and with some of the topics knowing their own value a little more. And so whether that's in the classroom or that's in these different clubs that I run and workshops I do for parents and other colleges actually as well, it's all coming from the same place. I fly around that stage forgetting what time it is. That's why I have to keep the little thing in there. I have to pay attention to the little corner of the computer because I'll keep everybody forever. So that feeling of flow certainly has everything to do with being well. And so basically, if you picture the P, the E, the R, the M, and the A, picture those as little buckets, right? If those are full most of the time, like it's sometimes the positive emotion one might be super high. Maybe the accomplishment one isn't that high right now. Maybe you caught, let's say when it was during the Rona, you caught, you know, the virus and it was like a month and you're not super accomplishing maybe a lot. When that's over, that goes back up. Maybe having a shift in your meaning because you're on a new track, that sort of thing. But as long as they're basically, you know, more full than the half point mark most of the time, that's somebody who's, and Marty Seligman would say, is probably doing pretty well and being well. And then I like his idea of flourishing, right? Which means that, you know, you've got those buckets full pretty much. So you're not only doing all these positive things. When you're flourishing, you're doing all these positive things, but they're all, and when you're doing all that and focusing on this good stuff, some of the negative old patterns are also leaving you gradually. And when we shift into this positive thinking, when the negative thinking starts to wane, we call that neural pruning, because it goes right back to if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, that can be bad if it's high school Spanish, and that was 20 years ago. Now you're going to Spain because you might need like a Rosetta Stone or, you know, YouTubes or something, because you're probably not going to have as much of it because your brain let go of some of it because you haven't used it in 2 decades. But it can work in a good way when you're on a new positivity track, a new optimistic lifestyle, and so now you have fewer negative, cycles going, negative thought cycles in your head. The brain says, "Oh, I guess we don't need those anymore," and they're pruned just like we prune the dead stuff off the bushes in April. So that's the good news. So flourishing is kind of both of those things happening, adding all the positive stuff and letting the negative stuff kind of get pruned is flourishing. And Marty talks about, and actually at that conference, one of the two I was with him at, he got so emotional. He talked about 51, and he says by 2051, and I would say Marty's in his probably mid 70s right now, I'm guessing. He got so emotional out there because it's his dream by 2051 to have 51% of the world flourishing. How cool is that? I just got to chill up my back. He's just such a sweet person. So what does it mean to be well? Well, that's what it means to be well. And so that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off. Chat later.